What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Keeping It EPL. It's in the game. Joining me, as always, right here is my man, Matthew Selz. What's going on, Salesman?
I'd be better if I didn't have to come on here and bitch about some stuff. Um, but I'm doing all right. One of my
Yeah.
teams got a point. That's all I wanted. Well, I
Mm-hmm.
wanted more, but better than 0 points. That's fine. Then one of my teams absolutely crapped the ever loving bed in the second half. Um,
Very much so.
yeah,
Um,
lots
very
to digest
much so.
from wild days of EPL this past weekend.
Yeah, and normally we wouldn't do a podcast on an international break, as which we're in right now, but you were very adamant that you wanted to rant, and
Yeah, I wanna keep the flow going. I wanna
you know,
recap, that way maybe next week we don't have to, we can just jump right in
yeah.
to
And since this
Matthew
show
hate
is
stuff.
on the Rants Network, I guess this perfect opportunity to do that. So
Also, I wanna give ourselves a pat on the back for making a comeback with betting because
don't
we
call it
we
a comeback, but it was a great comeback.
well, after the week we had
Yeah,
in
we had a
match
rough
week
week.
5, we needed a comeback and we got one, so,
Yeah, those first half bets were great picks.
yes.
We got.
Thank God we went with first half on Tottenham
I
because
know, right? I thought that game. I actually turned that game off. I guess over because
I
there
thought
was
so too. So did
football had
the,
started,
Tottenham
and
players, apparently.
yeah, and then NASCAR was about to start, and I was getting ready for that. I was, oh, it's fine. And then I like, oh, I check back, and I'm like, what is going on? So you just want to jump into that first, the Brighton Spurs game. That was, to be honest, maybe the best game of the weekend. Um,
Chelsea Forest game was pretty electric.
yeah, I'll give you that too.
I don't know why that got put on Peacock and the 0-0 draw got put on TV. I mean, I do. It's Villa Man U, which are bigger names. But
Yes, that game was a snooze fest.
the action in the Chelsea Forest game was insane. Forest defended for their lives. Down a man because James Ward Prowse got the dumbest second yellow I think I've ever seen. When he got beat and just went to the ground and like basically fumble recovered the soccer ball, which turns out you can't do. Obviously, I know this. I'm joking. I'm just saying. Uh, it was better than some fumble recoveries I saw from NFL teams this weekend.
Yes,
Unfortunately, they got him a second yellow, so now he's going to be suspended for the next game.
which will
Great.
be in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Um,
not great. Um,
yeah, it was 2-0 Spurs at the half.
it was. It was in fact
It
2-0.
it ended up 3-2 Brighton.
Yes, he got out-anged in the second half.
Definitely.
There's just so much to talk about. It's just embarrassing.
I mean,
Um,
everything was pretty even too if you look at the stats in this game, as a whole. It's just
that's yeah,
crazy to me that they allowed that to happen in the end, but
yeah, and Ange said it's the most disappointing game for him since he's been at Spurs. Okay, great. What are you going to do about that? Because so far, all we've heard as Tottenham fans is, "Oh, I'm disappointed. Oh, our defense should be better." You know what they're doing? Still giving up the most goals. You know what they're
eh
doing? Dominating every statistical category, and they're still mid-table.
well, I mean, that's a huge game because what should have been a win would have put them 1 point below 5th, and now
Right.
because of the loss, puts them in ninth, and they're 4 points below 5th, which is 2 games,
And they
if you
haven't
will.
had this little of points through what, 5 games, 7 games, 7 games
Mhm.
since like 2008.
Now, I believe they've scored the most goals in the Premier League
Yeah, it doesn't help when you're
at
not copying
14,
anything.
but they've given up 8. Yeah, so that will,
Yeah,
definitely
so
do
like the
it.
goal differential, like on the surface, you're looking at the
Mhm,
stats from Spurs and you're like, what are you complaining about? What I'm complaining about is it's been a systemic issue for a year and a half that's not getting better,
mhm.
right? The back line can't play defense. They simply can't. If you get them on one-on-one matchups, Udogie and Van de Ven and normally good Romero, who was not there at all, like just disappeared on Sunday.
He was on a milk
Um,
carton in that second half for sure.
yeah, and Pedro Porro, like They're
we
usually
know what
okay,
he's good for.
but they all seem to wanna get up front and score and don't seem to wanna actually do their job of being a back line and being the defensive line in front of Vicario, who is okay. Like, he
Mhm,
makes some great saves, and then he makes some stupid decisions, right? Like, his distribution is terrible. One of those passes got him directly into trouble. But Udogie was terrible. Allowed basically all three of those goals because they just could not get the ball away from the wingers for Brighton, who are really good. I'm not trying to say they're terrible. Brighton
mhm.
has some offensive skill and whatnot. But what we saw was a young, and I mean young, he's 34 years old, Fabian Herzler, the manager for Brighton,
Mhm,
loves to run the same system as Ange.
mhm.
It didn't work in the first half. He changed it at halftime and out-Anged Ange with his own system. And that's the problem. Like, Gary Neville, who I usually don't like that much on the Premier League postgame, said, in my day, if plan A wasn't working, we would go to plan B or plan C. We would try something else. We wouldn't try
Yes.
plan A harder, which is what Tottenham seemed to be doing. So, uh, I don't I don't know. I'm unconvinced with Ange right now.
The
I
best
mean,
coaches in the Premier League, I've said this for a long time, and it goes back a long way. The best coaches in the Premier League know how to react and make changes on the fly that benefit their team, putting them in a strength.
correct.
That's not what we saw from Ange at
No,
all.
and in the postgame,
If you look
he
at
was
Pep,
asked about
if
the
you look at
sub.
Klopp back in the day, they're the best. Even Arteta can do it. They're really good on the fly, saying this ain't working. We need to fix it quick, and they do fix it, and it works. Like that is it, and
Right.
that's not what we saw at all.
No,
It was not good.
you look at the subs, and he goes, "Well, I thought if I put these guys in, they would have a chance to." You put them in the 85th minute. What are they gonna do in 5 minutes plus stoppage?
Mhm.
Like, you got your rear end handed to you starting in the 47th minute.
Yeah, and that
They had
last goal
erased
the last goal that put them over, I believe, was in the 66th minute.
66th or 68th minute. It
But
was
you
gone
still
within
had
20
20
minutes.
yeah, but you still had 23 minutes to make that change and sub then
Right.
to try to get
Also,
back out of it, and he did none of that.
right, and he said, "I don't know what the like, he just kept putting in midfielders. It's like the midfield
He did.
wasn't really the
Yeah,
problem,
yeah.
it was the defense?
Now Tottenham has had a lot of coaches over the
Yes.
last few years. Do you think I mean, obviously, I'm still not gonna say they're in trouble, but
I
it's
think
a
the fan base is
kickback
starting
for
to
sure.
turn.
Yeah, I don't think he lasts the year as the head coach, or the coach or the manager. I just don't think he does. I think
If he's not like, look, he made Europe in his first year,
correct.
right? They're in the Europa League.
Mhm.
Then he
You
comes
want
out and says, "I win things in my second year." What are you winning? Statistical battles?
he's barely
Like,
doing that.
congrats on beating up on Karabag and a Hungarian team nobody can pronounce.
I didn't know who that was. I was like, "Who is this?" You know?
The beginning of it is spelled like Fenerbahce, but it's not
Yeah, yeah.
Fenerbahce.
No, it's not. Yeah.
No. Um, Although apparently it's pretty tough for an England side to go over there and beat them because it's the first time that a Premier League side has beaten them there in a while, I guess.
Yeah, but how
So
many times has that actually happened?
I don't know. It's a small sample. I'm
Yeah,
just saying, like,
yeah.
we're looking for moral victories. That's happened.
You
The
are.
only
You're really
player,
digging to moral victories right now when they beat
yeah,
Fenerbahce.
yeah, the only player who has definitively gotten better in the second year under Ange is Brendan Johnson.
Yeah, yeah. He's a beast.
He's
I believe
the only one.
he
And
is
if
ninth, I believe, in XG this year
yeah,
out of all players. So he's
he's
been
put
playing
in
really well.
6 in 6 games in all
Solanke's been
competitions.
pretty good when he's been healthy, right? But
He's still
again, we're
too
talking
polite.
about
Like,
forwards, we're talking about attackers, which we know is not the problem.
right. Well, it's a lit like, and why do we pay for Solanke if we're not gonna use him? Like, there's
They're
no
definitely
shot.
not using him correctly, and he's still 7th or 8th in XG.
Yeah, like, he set up the Brennan Johnson goal. The
Mhm.
second goal of the game was set up by Solanke to Johnson on a great feed. But, like, if you're getting your rear end handed to you and the players look like they're walking through things, put in the young guys. Why did we invest in the young guys if you're not going to give them time on the field?
It's almost like that old school managing you know,
Like, at that point, you're already losing. What do you have to lose by putting in Bergvall in the middle and Archie Gray, who's looked great
yeah,
defensively?
create some creativity out of nothing is what needs to be done, and that was not done at all
No.
in that one.
And I understand there's injuries, but you gotta like, everybody's got
How
injuries.
I have never seen a year start off with so many 2-0 leads blown
I mean,
by
Everton's
so
blown, like,
many
3 of them.
teams. There's been a number of them,
Yeah.
and it's insane to me that we're seeing this, but it's the way that
As a
football's
friend of
being played.
mine as a friend of mine says, 2-0 is the most dangerous score in soccer.
Yeah, it really is because 1 goal will swing it completely the
1
other
goal
way.
swings momentum, and then it's a 1-goal game, and,
Mhm.
like, you know.
You wanna get to that 3-0, for
Yeah.
sure.
Tottenham had a
Um,
shot, but they didn't. But then the Chelsea Forest game was insane.
yeah,
That
one
game was
one one tie. Was it either one of our ties of the week or draws of the week? But,
no.
it was a fun game, even
It
though
was
Chelsea had 70% of the possession, but
yeah. I
Nottingham
mean,
Forest was able to put more targets on goal than Chelsea. So
yes.
that's something.
And they were
But
down a man for about 20, and then there was, like,
mhm.
20 minutes of stop. I don't know. There was a lot of
Yeah,
stoppage in the second half.
there was a ton of stoppage. Yeah, I think it went 12 minutes over, which is crazy. But,
Yeah.
it was a fun game and well fought and deserved for Nottingham Forest, to be honest.
Yeah, my friend who is a Chelsea fan was watching it, and we were texting back and forth, and he's like, "Can Forrest stop wasting it?" I'm like, "It took Enzo 2.5 minutes to put the ball down for the corner. Who are we yelling at about wasting time?
Mhm.
Like, Cole Palmer goes down every time he's breathed at. Like, come on now." By the way, how is Cole Palmer the player of the match in that game? Like, I don't understand that
Yeah,
at all.
maybe because he had more touches and I don't
I
know.
mean, those 2 touches at the end that
Yeah.
Matt Selz saved, not me, a guy who has a very similar sounding name, saved, was unbelievable.
I think he had the assist on the,
On
Madueke
the
goal, though.
Okay,
Like,
but
let me
why
look.
not Madueke? He had, like, 4 shots on target.
Yeah, I don't know. Overall, it's a good game, though.
It was bonkers, and the next time those 2 play is the last game of the season.
Mhm.
So, God, I hope Forest is not in relegation battle at that point, because
They're looking I don't think they're gonna be. They're
I
looking really
don't
good
I
this year. I
knock
don't
on
think
wood,
so.
and good news, I think they're supposed to get Morgan Gibbs White back after the international break, like, he should be
That'd
starting
be
against
good.
Crystal Palace.
Perfect. We did have a couple of, teams at the top of the table go down 1-0 but come back and win.
Yes.
Man City were down 1-0 before they came back to win their game, but Fulham gave it all they could, man. 3-2. This Man City team is in trouble, to
Yeah,
score 3 goals, but give up 2 at home against Fulham, who we know has
and
been playing.
their midfield looks slow.
Yeah, and just, not this it's showing, and but again, Pep is one of the best coaches in the world.
They'll figure it out.
They'll figure it out. I think they're gonna be there, but it does open the door for Liverpool, who's in lead to lead the table. They won 1-0 over Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace has been kind of a thorn in their side for a minute now, so it's good to see that win, but Arsenal also went down, 1-0 and then came back with a 3-1 win, and they didn't need that 3rd goal. It killed our
Yeah,
bet, man. Killed our
yeah.
bet.
Thanks thanks again.
Thanks, Saka.
Yeah. You coulda limped off before you put the ball in, like,
But
that would've
once again, this Southampton team played really well, man.
yeah.
And once again, just got absolutely screwed. So, um, and now I'm getting to the point now where maybe Southampton is in trouble, even though
I
their
mean,
stats are outplaying their results. Now we're almost we're going to get to a third of the way of the season here,
yeah,
relatively soon, and it's yeah, it's going to be something for them to conquer. My big winner, though, I think we of the whole weekend was West Ham. I know it's Ipswich, but we've been talking about where has West Ham been? They're too good of a
yeah,
team.
that
They
was
had an absolute great, great game from the minute, the first minute, where I
correct.
believe the first goal went in a minute, and then ended up winning 4-1, which was needed. Now, again, we know Ipswich isn't the best, but they have
Correct.
been putting it out there against some teams and giving them fits. So it was a good win for West Ham. I like that. I think it's a loss for Newcastle, a tie at Everton, not a good look. So 2 teams who are kind of equals where I think they should be in points the 1 point for Newcastle. And that game, you want to talk about a snooze fest of a game. That Newcastle Everton was. If you had to watch that, I apologize. It was not good. When the man of the match is Jordan Pickford, that's when you know. It
Yeah.
was not a good game.
Only because Anthony Gordon absolutely fluffed a PK.
Yeah,
Like,
they combined for only 4 shots on target.
one of them
Newcastle
was a PK.
Newcastle did have 70% of the possession too. That is a loss. When you have 70% possession and you do not score a goal on, and you have 14 shots and 3 on target
Yeah.
against an Everton defense who, well, I will say they played well these last couple of weeks, but not good. It's just a loss for me. So
Yeah.
I'm
I
not
think they've still allowed have they still allowed the most amount of goals?
most
They're
likely.
tied for the most amount of goals allowed with Southampton. Everton is.
Ouch.
So
Ouch.
oh, no, sorry. Wolves have allowed 21.
Hmm.
Apologies there. Yeah, Wolves, you are really in trouble.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that because I was a
I
lot
mean,
higher
congrats
on
on
them.
stopping Brentford's scoring within the first minute of the game streak,
Oh,
but you allowed a goal in the second
yeah,
minute, so I can't.
Southampton has scored the least amount of goals. The least amount of goals at 4. Their goals versus expected goals is minus 4.34. There's 76 shots, 23 shots on target. Oh, but their XG per shot, 0.11, which is better than the likes of Crystal Palace, Man U, Ipswich, Everton, Nottingham Forest even. So it's just crazy to me that they only have 4 goals here. It's bizarre. Man U, 5 goals scored.
Yeah.
5 goals. Another draw with Aston Villa. That game, I get it. And I was not expecting that to be a draw. I will tell you that right now. But
Man, you
um,
did have some convincing looks in that game. They just
they are
missed.
not playing well. And they are goals versus expected goals, dead last, minus 6.11. Dead last.
Yep.
They have 89 shots, which is low, I think, for Man U after 6 weeks of the season. Or 7. Are we 7 weeks in now? I don't even know
7.
anymore.
7.
And they have a 5.62 conversion rate on shots on target versus shots in general, and the XG 0.13. I mean, they are not playing good football. And obviously, I don't think they're going to get relegated, although they keep on going lower down the mark here. But
Yeah, but they're 5 points better than Crystal Palace.
correct.
That's, at least 2 games
Here's the thing
above
with
the
with
cutoff.
some of these teams too with the cutoff is Southampton just gets a win. They're there, you know.
Right.
But I
Yeah,
think
we're getting into a very tiered table right now,
we are,
right?
and
Like,
we'll go over that. So, did you have any last words about any winners or losers from last week? I think we covered most of it, but
no,
obviously,
I
your biggest
mean
loser was Tottenham.
I mean, yeah, both physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, fan
All the
base
above.
wise, like it was an atrocious weekend for you had a shot to put up 13 points and go into the international break
Hmm.
basically sixth, and you and Brighton would have swapped spots on the table, essentially, right? Because
Hmm.
because Brighton would have been down at, I don't know, below Brentford. Um, you would have been right there, 13. Like, sure, you're 5 points back of Liverpool, but I feel like Liverpool's going to slow down here
I think
coming up.
they're the only team without a draw, I believe, so far this season.
Yes,
So that's weird. That's the reason why they're ahead. They do have that one loss, even though Man City and Arsenal have not lost. Each one of them have drawn twice, so that's the difference in
correct.
the points at the top of the table. Um,
But like you're tied with like
but
Tottenham's
Liverpool
tied with
also by
Nottingham Forest.
far has the best defense and the only has given up 2 goals in the Premier League so
Yeah.
far through 8 weeks or 7 weeks. So I don't even know where we are anymore. But that's absolutely outstanding numbers like that.
Yeah, but can
That's
we also talk about Forest being tied with Arsenal in goals allowed?
6-6. Yeah, there it is. But unfortunately for Forest, they've only have
They've only
7.
scored 7. Yeah. However, still got 10 points, which is almost half of what they had all of last year.
Okay, so let's run down the table then, because we'll get to Nottingham Forest here. Here's the obviously Liverpool by 1. We talked about it, Man
Yeah.
City and Arsenal. Then Chelsea at 1 back from those two. Aston Villa. I'm sorry, Chelsea is 3 back from those two, tied with Aston Villa. Obviously, the +8 goal differential. Thank you, Wolves, for Chelsea having the advantage there. And then Brighton moving right back up. Would that come from behind win at 12 points with Newcastle at 12? That should have been a win for Newcastle. You could give them 2 more. They should be up there with Aston Villa and Chelsea, in my opinion. A blown opportunity for sure. Then you have Fulham, man. And they've been in the top 10, I think, for the last 3-4 weeks consistently. And then obviously Tottenham with the bad loss. And then there's Nottingham Forest right there at 10, man. This is not where I had the table this far into the season. I don't think anyone would say that Fulham and Nottingham Forest would be in the top 10. Maybe you
Well,
for Nottingham Forest, but not Fulham.
I think I had Forest finishing 12th, 13th, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
So, they're a little ahead of schedule. Um, but
If
yeah, I mean, I don't think we would have expected to see
West Ham or Man U on the bottom side,
correct.
I agree. And I thought Crystal Palace would be better.
Correct.
I don't know.
Those are the 3 on the bottom half that I did not
Yeah.
expect to see play
One
right.
team that's just out of, or well, they're actually tied with Forest and Tottenham. They just a goal differential for them. Um, is a team that is a must-watch team. They play fun football. They're not getting results, but Brentford has been really fun to watch this year, and they just had another banger with Wolves over the weekend. And
Well,
I
I'm not
mean,
sure it was a banger for the Wolves fans, but it was
true.
for a lot of other people.
But Brentford is a team that has just been fun to watch, and
Correct.
I mean, obviously, I don't expect them to be in the top 5 or 6, but they do get Man U next.
I mean, they do. They do indeed. And Man U
They
still
do,
looks
and
like
I
they're the
believe
champs,
you
but
hit the goal scorer on this one,
yeah, the Bamo.
the Bramo. Yeah,
I mean, a lot of people scored, but yeah, Bamo
it's
Bamo
true.
helped us out there.
Yeah, he is has crushing pretty much all these stats for Brentford, but he's fun to watch too.
Oh, by the way, congrats to Leicester to getting their win there.
No, that should have been a draw. That was my draw of the week. I hated it.
I know.
I hated it. But yeah,
Now they
Brentford
get
11.
Southampton.
What's that?
Said now they get Southampton.
Oh, they do? Oh, no. Oh, boy. That'll be fun. Maybe that's Southampton's win. That'll be a big one for them, actually. West Ham at 12, but they got that big win. They're moving in the right direction now. However, things don't get easy for West Ham. They do have Tottenham next, followed by Man U right after. So a
Well,
must-win
okay.
needed win before.
We just spent the entire podcast crapping on Tottenham and Man U, so
It's true.
now we're
So maybe they'll sweep them. You don't know. Speaking of Man U, after Bournemouth, they are there at 14th on the table, man, and the goal scoring woes are real.
yeah.
um, and they got
By the way, I
Brentford
love that
and West
all 3
Ham.
teams with 8 points all have 2 wins, 2 draws, 3
Yeah,
losses,
it's all the exact
and they're
same.
all -1 goal differential, -2, -3. Like,
Mm.
it's just there's so much symmetry there that it's just enjoyable to look at.
It really is. Uh, it really is a crapshoot after that. Leicester, Everton, Ipswich, Crystal Palace, Southampton, and Wolves. If any team I think should be the safest on paper, it should be Southampton, but you never know.
Yeah, I would say that those 6 are
From
squarely in the
15
relegation.
to 20, unless something crazy happens with maybe Bournemouth. Maybe Bournemouth to
Maybe,
sneak
but,
down in there.
like, they're already a win better than
But 3 of those 6 teams, I think, will be eliminated, will be relegated,
well, 3 of
at the end
yeah.
of the year.
Yeah, I think
3 of
that's
those
the
6.
relegation battle that's
And
happening
I
right
think
now.
everyone is just licking their chops when they have the Wolves
I think
on.
Everton still has a point deduction coming.
And guess who Wolves has next?
They
Man
have Man U.
City.
Or Man City, yeah, they have Man City.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. What's the over under on that one gonna be? I don't know. That will be next week, but And then they have Brighton right after that. Oh boy.
We may no longer have Gary O'Neill as a coach after
I
that.
think the Wolves are going to be pups by
There's
the
still
time it's all
4
said and
winless.
done.
We're 7 weeks in, and there's still 4 winless teams.
Correct.
I mean, good for Ipswich for battling the draws, man. They are a scrappy bunch.
They are. They have 4 draws, which is tied for the most in the league with Nottingham Forest. Ironically enough, but
Yeah.
hey, draws will get you points, and points keep you alive. Losing will only get you nothing, literally. So
I mean, basically, the rule of thumb is you need 40 points to stay in the Premier League, right? Is generally the rule of thumb. The last few years
that may
have
change this year with these
well,
bottom
last year
six
too, because Forest scored the least amount of points while staying up that any team's ever scored.
teams.
Although there was a point deduction involved, but still.
Yes. Yes.
So if you use the logic that 40 points keeps you up, you basically need to draw all but one game and then win one, and you'd be fine.
Mm, fair enough.
Generally, right?
The expected table has changed.
I'm sure it has.
Liverpool is 1.
Shocker.
Chelsea is 2.
I mean,
Man City 3. And here's where your head is going to explode and you're going to look like the anger character from Inside Out. Tottenham is 4 at Expos.
I mean, but that's the thing, right? Like, Ange keeps going, look at the stats. When you look at the stats, they should be there.
On paper, yes.
They have dominated possession. They've dominated shots. They've dominated passing. They've dominated expected goals. But none of that plays out on the actual pitch.
Yeah, Man U, who was high on this chart for the first 5 weeks, have plummeted all the way down to 10.
Well, that's because they finally caught up to the fact that they can't score.
Yeah, and according to this, the 3 teams that would be relegated would be Wolves, Leicester, and Ipswich. I think, which is the 3 teams you had, I think, in here.
I had Wolves. I know that.
I know you had Leicester too. I think you had Ipswich as well.
I can't remember. I can pull it.
But that's the way the cookie is crumbling right now. It's good to see Liverpool being on number 1 of the expected as well, but a lot of that has to do with the fact that they're impossible to score a goal on.
Correct.
And they're still
Forest
getting
managed it.
and they're scoring goals. So that will be the bane. You ready for the predicted?
The predicted table?
The predicted table. According to this, they still think that Man City will win, followed by Arsenal, then Liverpool. But it's close now. It's close. And then Chelsea, Newcastle, Aston Villa, and Tottenham being relegated. Wolves, Ipswich, and Southampton instead of Leicester. But hey, what can you do? Man U on this one is 9th.
Although it's basically a flip-flop with Leicester and Wolves.
Correct.
Based on the expected points. But
yeah. So, hey, that's what we have here after a crazy week of Premier League football. Again, next week we'll be back and we'll discuss the odds and the betting, and we're gonna win again. We're gonna win again. I can feel it in my
by the way,
bones.
On the predicted table, Southampton has the highest relegation percentage. Over 90%.
Yeah, well, boo.
The next closest is less than 60%.
Come on, Southampton. By the way, I'm just gonna call this episode something with Ange and just have his angry face on the thumbnail. It's gonna be fun.
That's the problem, though. He doesn't have an angry face. He just sits there and takes it.
AI, my friend.
There you go. There you go. Just make sure you spell Ange correctly when you toss it into Chat GPT.
Yes.
There's no telling what that's.
Yes.
You misspell that.
Any last words here? Any news? Anything? Obviously, we talked about what happened, our knee-jerk reactions, if you will. We talked about the table. We talked about the struggles for teams, the successes. Yeah, man.
I feel better until I have to watch Tottenham at 6:30 in the morning on Saturday the 19th.
I will miss that one. By the way, shout out to Arnie Slot, who has the best record in Liverpool history inside the opening 10 competitions in all competitions.
Nice.
He is 9-0-1. with the one loss being to Nottingham Forest by a goal to 0. So, slot ball is yes ball.
Yeah, I'm enjoying Nuno Ball for Forest. It's been fun to watch. Like, we actually like, Forest looks like a Premier League team, which you haven't been able to say over the last 2 years. They look like on any given weekend, they can go toe to toe with anybody because they got the depth in the players
Mm-hmm.
to pull off a well-crafted game plan. It's not, let's run around for 90 minutes and hope the ball doesn't go in our net and hopefully we get it in the other one, right? Ange needs to work on that. Let's let's get the high-paid guys to figure out how to execute a game plan.
Also, next year, put this one in your back pocket. Arsenal has never lost a home Premier League game against Southampton. They played 25 games. They're 17 with 8 draws. That is the most against a home team and any opponent. Second would be Chelsea versus Fulham, and then Arsenal versus Fulham, and then Arsenal versus Sunderland. Maybe Arsenal is just really good at home. I don't know.
I mean, Emirates is a pretty tough place to play.
It is.
Not gonna lie.
All right, man. Well, let's call it a merry adieu, and it sucks to be Man U.
Yep.
I just Dr. Seuss right there. I
Go.
love it. All right, enjoy the international break. You can actually breathe on Saturday and Sunday mornings and maybe sleep in.
Hey, for U.S. men's national team fans, the former coach just got hired.
Is he going to be coaching this weekend?
Who? Greg Berhalter?
No.
Oh,
the
Pot?
new. Yeah, is he going to be coaching this weekend?
Yeah, he'll be coaching.
He's going to be out there, and this is his debut, then, right? Or no?
His debut squad. Yeah.
Who are they
Greg
playing? Like
Berhalter,
Trinidad and Tobago or something
something like that.
Yeah, where did Berhalter end up?
Chicago Fire.
As the head coach or the head manager?
The head coach.
And Chicago Fire?
Chicago Fire.
Ooh, you get ready for a mediocre midfield for years.
Somebody was like, the Fire should offer Juventus all it takes to get Weston McKennie. And I'm like,
why?
They don't have that kind of money, man. Like, where?
Yeah, why? And these players now for USA do not want to be playing in MLS.
Nope.
No, they do not. You want to be on the top stages and all the top leagues in the world right now, which we've done a good job of actually developing that to where we have most of our main starting players do play overseas in big leagues for big teams. So
that's true. A couple of them are starting for Fulham.
Yeah, and Juventus, AC Milan.
Yep.
Yeah, they're out there and they're playing good football. I mean, Christian Pulisic is
basically the only thing going for AC Milan right now.
But he's been good now for 2 years.
Yeah,
like, he's it's just he just wasn't utilized, I think, well enough at his time with Chelsea.
And then they just disregarded their coach twice for PKs.
Yeah, exactly. So it's good to see. I think USA football is back, baby. It's back. Chicago Fire football, probably not so much.
Not so much.
All right, Matt Selz from Keeping It EPL, the Rants Network. We will see you next week with our bets, and we're going to crush it again because I'm going back to Ollie Watkins' goal.
By the way, that one didn't hit.
I know, but it will. It will. He's going to score more goals than he'll not score in every game, and it's always plus odds, so you'll end up over it at the end of the year. Trust me on this one, people. For Matt Selz, myself, Ed Rouse, enjoy your international break. We'll see you with our picks for the next match week next week. Same place, same time. Boom.